All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 5 past 7:30 at this point, and we did say we were going live at 8:15, but we decided to pull a fast one on our audience tonight and go a little bit earlier. But we're back after 2 weeks. Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. Of course, I am your host, Chet, and to my left is my counterpart, Duffy. Duffy, we haven't been on here since the week before Easter.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
It's been 3 weeks. It's been a while. We have a lot to catch up on. And I think it was actually 2 weeks before Easter, maybe, or a week and a half. So it's been a minute. Let's be great. Let's get after it, eh?
Yeah, let's definitely get after it. And I mean, obviously, we had Easter weekend, and my schedule's been loaded with things I've got to do in my life. And I was trying to get in and do the show last week, but I mean, you can't really blame him for it. Our CEO Ron Robert him and his wife gave birth to a baby boy, Robert.
You have to think about it for a sec.
Yeah, I had to think about it. I'm like, okay, Ron didn't give birth to the baby. Karen gave birth to the baby.
Yes,
so he
Karen
participated in it. But regardless, couldn't get the code from him in time. So things just didn't work out last week where we could get it. But we're back and we're ready to go. And before we go, obviously, a big congratulations to Ron and Karen on their beautiful baby boy. Just a few days old at this point, not almost coming up on a week. So
yeah, shout out to Ron, his 6th kid in the record book. So
that's a record right there.
Yeah.
But jumping into the equation right off the bat, doing what we do, talking about sports, we're going to jump into the playoffs, the NBA playoffs. They've been here for the past couple of weeks. I don't even think we got to talk about game 1, did we?
No, we didn't. Not even the play-in tournament either.
No, we didn't get to talk about the play-in tournament. We didn't get to talk about any of that. So we won't really cut with that. But we will start off with the Boston Celtics since we are Boston fans. And going into it, Celtics sweep the Knicks in 4 games, and we'll move on to face the winner between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. Likely right now, all roads lead to playing Milwaukee, who leads that series 3-1. Game 5 is tonight. So we will see what happens with that series.
It's 4-3 to Bulls right now. They're up, but hey, give a shout out to the big Boston Celtics. Sweep of the Nets. They really, really dominate this entire series. And people were saying after game 1, this was going to be one of the best series ever. Nah, forgettable. Celtics in 4, baby. They're the better team all 4 games. And every game was kind of the same. I mean, they just made a lot of big plays early. Put themselves out in front, I think, at halftime of all but 1 game. And the last 3 games, they didn't look out of it for a single second. I got close to the end of game 4, but Celtics took care of business. In game 3, too, it was back and forth for the first half, but Boston, I mean, just pulling away in the fourth quarter. They was making big plays. They had the Nets number. And KD struggled this series, man. Kevin Durant really did not play his best series. Really struggled in games 2 and 3. And game 4, he was a beast, but games 2 and 3, I mean, just not putting up a whole lot of shots.
And I can see Malik Waters has joined the call there. He's been really hitting me up a lot lately, being like, watch the comments section. So go ahead and hit those comments, Malik. I'll be sure to say something in there. But, yeah, I mean, looking at the way Kevin Durant played in that series, it was atrocious. Really, the only people who were putting up points were coming off the bench. I remember in game 3, Durant was, I believe, 1 or 0 for 7 on field goal on threes, and then only scored 16 points in the game total. Honestly, looking back at the way the series went, the Nets, if they really wanted to have any part of this conversation, should have won game 1.
Yeah. That would have been the tone setter. If they won game 1 in Boston, it's a whole different series. And I think the Celtics probably would have won at least 2 games up to this point, but if that was the case. But that game 1, it slipped right through their hands. They were up 7 points with 5 minutes left on Easter Sunday, to beat the Celtics, and they choked. They blew it. And they couldn't recover afterwards. That was pretty much it. We're kind of seeing the same thing with the Minnesota Timberwolves right now.
Mm-hmm.
They blew a 20-point lead in game 3, I believe it was, against the Grizzlies, trying to go up 2-1. They win game 4, and last night up 13 the fourth quarter again. And they blow it. I mean,
yeah, I saw that this morning.
In the playoffs, it's so tough to gain momentum, in a series in which you've already blown a huge lead. And the Timberwolves have done it twice. That's kind of in game 1, 7 points isn't a huge lead, but it's a game they should have had. But after that first game where you kind of just blow a lead, it's tough to really come back, and especially when you're going into opponent's territory too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it definitely kind of, when you look at this playoff picture, really, the way things are going right now, I mean, the only teams that have secured their spots in the next round right now are the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. We're still waiting for finishers on the Toronto Philly series, the Milwaukee Chicago Bucks series, and then the whole West is a whole different story. Neither side has really secured their take to move on to the next round. I mean, the Denver Nuggets just forced a game 5 against the Golden State Warriors. So, I mean, the West is a little more unfinished business yet, if I should say so. And I mean, when you look at the way the tide has gone for the East compared to the West, it's just totally different.
It's kind of this way like every year. I mean, I saw a stat today that Raptors Sixers is the first Eastern Conference first round game to go to a game 6 in 4 years since 2018. When there's a game 6 and a game 7. I think actually maybe even 2 game 7s, but that East, there's always a big disparity in the best teams and the mediocre teams, and we saw it with the Celtics Nets series, out of the Heat Hawks series, and maybe tonight the Bucks can close it out. We'll see what the Bulls Bucks series, they win in 5 games tonight, but same thing. I mean, that Raptors Sixers series, Sixers were up 3-0, could have easily swept them, but the Raptors staying alive, winning 2 games in a row. It's an interesting East playoff picture. I think, when it winds down to the Final Fours, it always does in each conference, and we're going to be able to see the best teams compete. And because these top 4 teams are very close, equal amount of star power on, these top 4 seeds, in my opinion, Milwaukee, Miami, Boston, and who was the last game? The Sixers.
Yeah.
So very heavyweight matchups coming, I think, next round.
Yeah, and I think at this point we're probably going to see more game 6s and 7s come up along the lines because, obviously right now here in the quarterfinals, there's not really going to be much to be said until we hit the semis and then the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference finals. And, I mean, the way it's drawn up right now, Boston's going to have to play Milwaukee. And we're talking about the NBA defending champions going to be taking on a Boston Celtics team that has struggled throughout at least the past 5 years to do anything productive. The furthest they've gone is the Eastern Conference Finals, only to fall to, I believe, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time. Yeah. And that's something to look back on. And
2017 and 2018.
Yeah. And it's something to look back on and kind of think what might have been. But I think the Celtics team we got now is just as good as all those other teams, maybe even better. I mean, you're seeing Marcus Smart, the first, I believe is it point guard? He's a point guard.
Yeah, second point guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year.
Exactly.
Behind, you know who the first one was?
I forget the name. I think I told it. What was that again?
Gary Payton.
That's right. I said that to my dad the other day, and he's like, I remember Maury Payton. But at the end of the day.
Gary.
What?
Gary, like the
Gary.
snail.
I heard Marty for some reason. Your audio just cut out. Gary Payton.
Amari for a sec.
But yeah, I mean, with the Celtics, the way they've got it set up, it didn't look like it would be this good. But the thing is you look at the teams that people predicted going into the postseason. You had the Lakers, you had the Nets going to the finals. Lakers missed the playoffs. Nets swept in 4 games. Super teams are dying again in the NBA. Yeah. And it's we had talked about this before, but it's something to be happy about, honestly, as a fan, because it's back to the team.
Very refreshing.
It's back to the teams carrying the weight, not 3 superstars on your team that are going to put up all the points, put up all the pressure on all the other teams. It's like you need a team. You need a whole core, a set of 5 out there that can win.
Homegrown teams, they're really back to winning championships. I mean, we saw it the last couple of years with Toronto and Milwaukee last year, and even the Warriors. I mean, homegrown team. They just added Kevin Durant too, but now we got all these teams with really good chemistry. Like the Phoenix Suns, they play together for a few years now. And they sucked a few years ago. They were last place in the West.
I remember that
4 or 5 years ago. Now they're number 1 seed in the whole league. And then you also got Boston Celtics too, another homegrown team. Miami Heat, another homegrown team. homegrown team. Building guys in the draft and building that chemistry. It served a lot better than egos. A lot of egos in these super teams. Unless you got LeBron James, I don't think a super team is really going to work anymore.
Yeah.
It actually didn't work this year with LeBron, so
no.
Maybe that was a freezing take.
No, and I mean, even like with the Brooklyn Nets, for example, that team just had too much circulating, and it all started with Kyrie Irving at the beginning of the season. Not to say, hey, it's his choice not to get the vaccine, but it really brought a lot of crap onto their plate in terms of drama, and then he couldn't play for a while because of it. And they instead of having him play, they benched him instead of being like, we'll just have him play part-time until things get better. They just didn't go with that. And then you have James Harden, also drama, gets traded, and then stuff with Kevin Durant that just really wasn't working, having him run the team himself. And just the way him and Kyrie mesh together, it proves that, yeah, they're two superstar players, best in the league, probably some of the best players of all time. But when it comes down to brass tacks, they just didn't work together.
When it comes down to brass tacks.
Yeah, when it comes down to dimes and dollars.
That was funny. Yeah, we don't work together. Before we move off this, we should look at these West Conference series, and let's give our predictions for the series. So Warriors Nuggets right now. Warriors lead 3-1.
Warriors.
And Friday's game 6. So it's only game 5. That's tonight, actually.
Yep.
So yeah, I think Warriors tonight at home. Yeah, easy money. Suns Pelicans. Suns up 3-2. A big win last night, covering 6-point spread. Sorry, my bad, Ron. But
I mean, I like Phoenix. I mean, New Orleans has put up a great fight, especially coming into the postseason as a team I didn't really expect to get in. And I mean, hey, they proved they've got a pretty, like you said before, a homegrown team that eventually is going to put up, big numbers in these next few years. But as of right now, we've seen this 100 times before with young teams. Sometimes they come into fruition as Cinderella stories, but this is not their year. The Suns are still the best team in the West, and they're going to take this game.
Yeah, I don't see the Pelicans forcing a game 7. It's just too unrealistic for me right now.
And if it does, then hey, crap,
Yeah, it'd be pretty impressive. Oh, crap. Jazz Mavericks, Dallas leading the series 3-2, and it's going to be in Utah tomorrow night. I think Jazz are going to force a game 7, and I think Dallas will win game 7.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Luka Doncic and the way he's played the whole series and just throughout the whole season, he's just an unbelievable player. But, I mean, like you said, Tim, when you look at the matchup against the Jazz were one of the top 2 seeds last year. They still got some pretty formidable players that can put up a fight. And were they in the Western Conference Finals last year? I could be wrong.
Jazz, no, they lost to the Clippers.
That's right. And that's another team that didn't make it this year and lost in the buy-in round, if I'm not mistaken.
Lost in the play-in, correct.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm still gonna take Dallas. Dallas has been a team that I've circled the whole year to be a dark horse really in the playoffs. And I mean, I just don't. I could see Utah forcing a game 7.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, they have the championship pedigree, but I think Luka's finally due for a playoff series win. Lost the last 2 years, and I think he's due this year.
And now
mantling Jazz team, by the way.
Yeah, and then Memphis Grizzlies in the
is Timberwolves Grizzlies. And Grizzlies are going to win 6. They're going to win next game. Timberwolves could cause a game 7, but I don't know, man. I think the Grizzlies are just going to knock it out right now.
Yeah.
In this series.
I mean, if they don't fumble the bag.
John Morant's dunk last night, Chet.
What's that?
Did you see John Morant's dunk last night?
No. Honestly, bro, pull it up. Pull it up.
It was a jaw jam. I'm looking up John Morant. And he had the game winner last night, too.
Okay. Oh, wow.
That's crazy. He's going to have a couple of those in game 6, and the Grizzlies
just
win.
Boom. Beautiful.
Oh yeah,
That's a
it's
sight to
crazy.
see right there. It's like painting a canvas.
It really is. It really is like being a campus.
Campus, no canvas guy.
Oh, they used to the campus.
No, what? How would you paint a campus? That's a lot of work.
I don't know, man. That was kind of dumb.
Anyways, so that's our conclusion so far for the NBA playoffs up until this point. I believe as of next week, I mean, yeah, we'll be in the first week of May. Round 2 will begin starting on May the 2nd. That's when we will actually have our first series, game 1 for Miami, when the next game is decided. And of course, Boston will have its when all these games conclude. But by next week, we should have more coverage on the previous series and the series to come. So now shifting topics to a league that's been quiet for a while, but is starting to pick up steam with the draft coming up. We're going to start off with some obviously big news and rumors that came out around the time we went radio silent for a couple weeks. Deebo Samuel, out of nowhere, the 2-time Pro Bowler, looking to be traded out of the Bay Area, and a lot of roads likely lead
He's
him.
a one-time Pro Bowler. I got to fix that.
All good. Anyways, the 1-time Pro Bowler wants to be out of the Bay Area, and at this point, the front runners to make a trade for Deebo Samuel are the New York Jets.
Yeah, it's the Jets right now. I mean, the funny thing is, Chet, is that, this is a similar story we just heard not too long ago. New York Jets were the front runners for Tyreek Hill. And it's a team with 3
and then the Miami Dolphins just shafted him.
It's a team with 3 first-round draft picks. And there's a word recently that Deebo might not even want to get traded, or Deebo's unlikely for him to get traded. But, if any team can even pull the trigger right now, it's probably the Jets. And it kind of makes sense with Robert Saleh being the head coach, former 49ers coach, defensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach of the New York Jets, so this reconnection will be cool. I mean, he's got a lot of Niners on his staff, and Deebo Samuel. I mean, him in that division, the AFC East, you could imagine. I mean, we just got Tyreek Hill in the Patriots division. Now Deebo Samuel. I mean,
Von Miller, Deebo Samuel,
this AFC is just crazy. This AFC Pro Bowl team is going to be nuts.
Yeah,
we might see a draft day trade for this guy.
Honestly, yeah, that was a big rumor too. And the weirdest part is with the whole debacle is the Niners knew about this weeks before, but I mean, they kept it hush, which is good on them, but it's weird because it doesn't really seem like the organization is doing a lot in terms of trying to figure out ways to keep this guy. And at first I was kind of like, who is he to really stand up and say this? But it's like, when you look at the stat line of Deebo Samuel from this past season, 77 receptions for 1,405 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. But to back on rushing, he had 159 rushing yards for 3 touchdowns. And despite all that, you're talking about a guy who was 5th in the league in receiving. And not only that, you look at him in the postseason, he was doing it all. He was running the ball. He even threw the ball a couple times. And then he was open. This is a guy who has a nose for the ball, and he just makes plays. And he's literally their offense.
I have to go on the cell phone, chat. Hold up.
Heard.
I'm going on the cell phone right now.
Go for it.
But yeah, Deebo Samuel. All right, I'll be back.
Go ahead and do your thing. So kind of to continue that thought while Duffy switches over real quick. I mean, what we've got right now with the whole trade at the moment. Oh, there we go. Well, I'll just remove.
Yeah, remove me. Okay, cool. But, Chet, I mean, like you were saying, man, Deebo Samuel is a do-it-all receiver. This guy was the first wide receiver ever with 10-plus receiving touchdowns and 5-plus rushing touchdowns in a season. I mean, he was playing 2 positions, basically. Part-time running back, full-time receiver. But, dude, this guy, he's one of the most dangerous weapons we've seen in the league in a while in terms of versatility. But the question is he going to keep doing this in a non-Shanahan offense? I mean, is he going to translate his skills like that? Because Shanahan, one of the best defensive minds in the league, or offensive minds in the league. And, I can't imagine him using the same role if he wasn't in his system. I mean, I heard one of the reasons he wanted to get traded was because he was just sick of – he didn't want the 2 position,
load that he was getting. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to ask for. And I mean, you had, what was Mitchell's first name? Elijah Mitchell. It just popped in my head before you said it. But Elijah Mitchell, I mean, he was a great back all year. He came out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, this team relied on Deebo a little too much to the point where it's like he is the weapon at the end, when it comes down to it. And he needs to be compensated as so if they want to continue to use him like that. I'm sure at this point he's kind of vocalized, no, I don't want to be that guy anymore. This offense needs to be a little more fluid, needs to have more things going on with it. Because, I mean, Kendrick Bourne got shipped out. Brandon Ayuk's been good. He still shows a little inconsistency now again. And then George Kittle, great tight end, but has struggled to maintain a healthy season where he just plays all the games through. And then you're talking about quarterbacks. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, solid, but not the guy that you're expecting to carry you to the promised land the whole way if he's hurt, because that's another guy that has health issues. And then on top of that, Trey Lance, their number one pick last year, they're not even sure if they want to start him this year. They just aren't that faithful. And like we've seen shining moments of him in the times he's come into games that Jimmy G hasn't played. But this team doesn't have
uncertainty.
There's uncertainty, and he feels that and wants out.
I think with Trey Lance, it's a unique situation because Trey Lance came in as a younger quarterback. He's 21 years old, turning 22, I think, this month, or just did. And he, last year, I mean, 2 games, started 2 games. He went 1-1 of them, had a couple of really nice plays. But, I mean, he's still not viewed as potentially ready to start. And kind of puts the Niners in a weird spot. This is Jimmy Garoppolo's last year of his contract. They signed to a 5-year deal back in 2017. And, if he has a great year this year, I mean, what do they do with Trey Lance? They keep him. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo going to be the quarterback for 2022. Actually, and they still don't even know who the starting quarterback's going to be for next year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not exactly what the Patriots were going through because Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, like, what are you talking about? Like, you're talking about the GOAT to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, but obviously at the end of the day, you're talking about Jimmy G, a good starting quarterback, and then Trey Lance, a quarterback who has a lot of potential to be a starter. But it's going to come down, like you said, it's going to come down to the Niners being like, well, if Jimmy G has a great season, do we need Trey Lance anymore? Do we keep Jimmy G, or do we just ship him out and keep Lance? It could lead into one of those fiascos. However, we're not dealing with Tom Brady.
I think Jimmy G also needs to have like a spectacular season if they had to keep him.
Yeah.
He'd have to have like at least a Pro Bowl type of season, 30+ touchdowns, 4,000 yards.
Maybe even first team All-Pro type season.
He might have to like be a top 2 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
So I think, with that being said, they're going to keep Trey Lance in this roster. They have to. They invested so much into this kid, and
traded up for him.
They traded up a couple of picks for him, including their first round pick. So maybe Deebo just doesn't want to be a part of that. Maybe he just doesn't want to be part of a potential rebuild because, with Trey Lance, are they contenders?
Yeah.
Deebo would know more than us, so.
Yeah, but then it kind of begs to question, does he really want to go to the New York Jets and deal with that BS over there?
Yeah, there's a lot of BS. Yes, my friend. Maybe arguably too much. Too much. Not arguably, but most definitely a little too much BS on the New York Jets.
I'm drawing a big blank with the Jets. Who is their starting quarterback right now?
Zach Wilson, brother.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. It's like, do you really like Zach Wilson showed last season that, he has like some decent potential, but once again, it's the New York Jets. Do you really want to be a part of this? I mean, with the Niners, you still got a pretty solid put together offense. It's not like the best offense I've ever seen, but the defense is really good. That's something to look at too, how good their defense has been these last few years. So why would you want to ship out for a crap team just so you, I mean, hey, he wants to get paid. At the end of the day, every player in this
want to get paid, all these guys want to get paid and they do whatever it takes now. They request a trade and that's what it takes them to get more money. But, when your team who's made George Kittle the highest paid tight end in football, or at least one of them, you made Trent Williams the highest paid offensive lineman in football. I think Jimmy Garoppolo, $37 million, paying him upwards of $30 million. I mean, it's tough to be able to spread all the wealth like that. But, salary cap's a myth anyways. I mean, look at the Rams, just dropping shredder all the time. It's a myth. So maybe the Niners should just pay this man.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it's going to come down to because, but then it begs to question a couple other things. I mean, we'll wrap this up and go into the NFL draft in just a moment, but really, you got to pay George Kittle. You're probably going to have to pay Elijah Mitchell if you like what he brings to the table. I'm sure his contract's not going to be like vulgar and huge or anything like that, but he's still a piece to keep. But then you're thinking about Nick Bosa. You're thinking about Fred Warner. You're thinking about some top players on this team that you have to keep. You need to keep, unless you really just want to give up and rebuild all over again. But this team, they had an off year from injury. The year before, they were in the Super Bowl. And then this year, they were on the doorstep of the Super Bowl, losing the NFC Championship. You can't give up on something that's already there. My thoughts.
Yeah, but a lot of it's just the team, too. I mean, the team is loaded on all parts of the ball, and they're very well coached. So I think they're one of the better organizations in the league right now. Mm-hmm. Deebo is a huge part for them. They're a worse team without Deebo Samuel. But knowing the Niners, they've shown they can draft very well and find a guy just like him probably. So we'll see what they want to do with him, and if they find a replacement tomorrow night in the draft, potentially.
Time will tell. We'll see what happens tomorrow night, and it's huge that we get to talk about the draft really quickly, considering it starts tomorrow. So,
like that segue I just did, bro.
Yeah, it was a very smooth one. And going into the draft, Duffy in this case almost called you your government given name once.
That line comes out once a show.
It always does.
This guy with the government name.
Yeah, but. Duffy, if we had to look at some of these players that are going into the draft right now, who are some of your top picks?
There's just a lot of good prospects. There always is. I mean, Trayvon Walker is definitely a guy that people are saying the top 3-4 picks. Sauce Gardner, probably seeing a lot of him on Instagram, as he always is. Cornerback from Cincinnati, helped that team get to the college football playoff. But Aiden Hutchinson, top 2 prospects. This is one of those drafts where no one really even knows who's going number 1. Mm-hmm. Kayvon Thibodeau's a really good pick too. His stock is fallen for some reason, but this is one of those first years in Wild Chat where there's no clear-cut number 1 pick. That's usually a quarterback. Last time a quarterback was not taken first overall who was it?
That wasn't taken first overall?
Yeah, what year was it? Do you remember?
I can check right now, honestly.
Nah, I know. I just want to see if you know, bro. I'm quizzing you.
Oh, I have no idea. Who?
Myles Garrett, 2017.
That's right. Well, we probably won't see a number 1 pick for a quarterback because the quarterback class is very much to be desired this year.
I saw something today. It was many NFL scouts have Jordan Love as a better draft prospect than any quarterback in the draft. I'm like, oh,
that's really saying something.
It's really saying something, huh? Because he really didn't really show, and he didn't really show anything last year in his start.
And did they draft Jordan Love in the first round, the Packers?
Yeah, 26th overall. They picked Jordan Love. Sad, right? Very sad.
It's so funny. It really is hilarious to think.
A lot of names have just sputtered all over the place. Evan Neal is another one of those names, Alabama tackle. He was at number 1 probably about 2 months ago. Mock draft. He's number 6 in this Chucky Brooks NFL.com mock draft. Shout out to Mr. Brooks for the mock I'm looking at.
Yeah,
some good receivers in the draft.
I'm trying to see who my mock draft's written by. This is just the ESPN staff.
But Chet, dude, we've talked about it a lot, bro, over the last couple of years. The Patriots need to draft a quick linebacker in this draft. We're a defensive player of some sort. Because our defense is getting old, again, slow. We need a fast defensive player in this mock draft. Devin Lloyd, who actually I can't say it because it's gambling, but Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. I think he'd be a good pick for the Pats. Pats, they usually like going defense in the first round, so. they do have a lot to work on that side of the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
they were good on defense last year, but that playoff game against Buffalo Bills, allowing 7 touchdowns on 7 drives. And most of it was because the Bills were faster than the Patriots. They were quicker than us. Could run the ball down our throats. Weren't big, but how can they go in that direction in the first round tomorrow night? I'm excited for it, Chad. I mean, I really am.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly sat down and watched the draft last year to see them draft Mac Jones because that was something huge to watch in general.
That was huge.
That was great to watch.
Did you not witness that?
No, I did. I sat down and
Oh,
watched the draft because I wanted to see the Patriots, who they were going to draft. And I got so nervous, obviously, because I'm like, bro, if they do not take Mac Jones, I want Bill Belichick fired, like, instantly, because I am not dealing with another season of Cam Newton. Like, no, thank you. But, I mean, you look at Devin Lloyd in terms of his combine statistics, a 4.66 40-yard. That's really quick for a linebacker. 25 bench press, a 35 vertical jump, and a 126-foot broad jump. I mean, we're talking about a unit here compared to what the Patriots are looking at defensively, because one person I mentioned on that defense that, I'm sorry, I love him to death, but has to go, Dante Hightower. I'm sorry, dude. Your time is gone.
Biggest Dante Hightower hater.
Hater? I love that dude. What do you mean? That dude was a beast. But
you can't even be a backup.
I mean, okay, he could probably stay at least one more season with the team, but he's on his last limb, dude. Ever since last season when he took the year off because of COVID, he just hasn't looked the same. If he can change that this year, then hey, come on down. But like having him and Kyle Van Noy, they're good linebackers, but the issue is they're slow. They're way too slow. And I mean, did they have a third backer that I'm missing?
Probably, but I don't remember.
Because
I've watched Patriots football in a minute, dude.
Yeah, because I mean, the last backer that I remember that was like somewhat good was Flowers. What's his name?
Trey Flowers. Yeah, he was a beast.
No, not Trey. The other Flowers. Landon Flowers, I think, or something.
Oh, Landon Roberts.
Oh, Landon Roberts. Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Yes, beast.
And then he ended up signing with the Miami Dolphins.
As they all did. They all did, bro.
They just jumped ship.
Flores exposed them.
Yep. And then it was, and I don't know.
Racist. Yeah, they were though. I mean, you're offering a guy $100K to lose. Damn. It's pretty evil. Pretty evil.
That is pretty evil. That's some evil stuff right there. But yeah, I mean, you look at the draft right now, and at least the mock draft I'm looking at, this is Charles Davis. I mean, Charles Davis has right now Trayvon Walker going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Lions picking Aiden Hutchinson afterwards, and then Ike Ekwonu going to the Houston Texans.
I see Ekwonu.
What the heck, dude? Some of these names are really tough for me to pronounce. What is this one? Okay, no, I'm done. I'm done. Man. I'm not butchering any more names tonight.
How do you say it?
No, I'm not saying it.
What school is he from?
Okay. He is from Cincinnati. He's a cornerback.
Do you talking about Ahmad Gardner, bro?
It says Sauce Gardner next to his name.
Sauce. His nickname is Sauce.
All right, I wanted to make sure. I wasn't going to just say Sauce and be like, all right, that's not how you say it.
I already said his name.
I didn't hear you. And then Giants picking Charles Cross. Panthers taking Evan Neal. Giants once again taking Kayvon. How do you say his name?
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. Okay.
Kayvon, you said Kayvon, right? You're reading Kayvon. You said T-Bon.
Really? I don't know. I guess I flipped the T and the K around.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. I was being a jerk. Sorry.
Jermaine Johnson II going to the Atlanta Falcons, and then the pick from Denver that the Seattle Seahawks acquired in the trade for Russell Wilson. They were going to pick Derek Stingley Jr.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the Charles Davis mock. We're looking at the same mock.
And then Drake London to the New York Jets. A couple good
receivers. And Garrett Wilson. I mean, every position in this draft is pretty solid except for a quarterback. So it's going to be an interesting night tomorrow night for sure, Chet.
It kind of begs to question if we're going to see any of these players be taken in, quarterbacks per se, in like the third, fourth.
I mean, Charles Davis's mock draft has Malik Willis going to Pittsburgh. They obviously need a quarterback. They have Trubisky, but they're going to need an answer. Are they going to reach for Malik Willis? I don't know, but
No,
we'll see.
I mean, they're going to have to, I feel, maybe, or
And
wait
this draft
a little bit.
Kenny Pickett going to the Lions at 32, the Pittsburgh quarterback. So,
Well, I mean, do you really want Trubisky or Mason Rudolph running the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Mason Rudolph's still on the Steelers. He sucks.
Yeah.
So bad.
He does. He's terrible. I mean,
he's awful.
Yeah.
He's awful.
I have nothing positive to say about the man besides saying, hey, Myles Garrett, do not hit him over the head with your helmet. That's not cool.
No bueno. It's no bueno.
That's no bueno. But all right, so that concludes our NFL segment, going over Deebo Samuel and the NFL draft. That's going to be tomorrow night. The first round picks will come in, and then the following rounds will happen in the following days to come. So now we will move into the final segment, going on to Major League Baseball. And something to really note is how 7 of the last 10 games the Red Sox have lost and now have fallen to 4th in the AL East. They only are ahead of the Baltimore Orioles. So when you look at the standings right now for the AL East, as I pull them up, you got the you got the Toronto Blue Jays, and then the New York Yankees, followed by the Tampa Bay Rays. And as of right now, I mean, the Rays, they still need time to develop in terms of what they've got for hitters. They don't have Nelson Cruz anymore. Nelson Cruz was a big reason why their offense was so boosted at the end of last season at the trade deadline. So they need a hitter like that to really get back into the equation. But the Yankees have won 4 games in a row so far. They started the season off red hot. We're seeing Josh Donaldson really take it up in the first couple days. And then after the fact, last night, and even in the beginning weeks, Anthony Rizzo hitting 3 home runs, got a total of 6 RBIs in last night's game in the winning ever over the Baltimore Orioles. And, I mean, Anthony Rizzo, he's a dude I've loved since he was on the Chicago Cubs. I am so pissed because this was a dude that was in the Red Sox prospect system, and then he got traded to the Cubs.
Dude.
And then has been with the Cubs. And then there was rumors last season that the Red Sox were in talks to make a trade to get him. But instead, the Yankees jumped in and got Anthony Rizzo. And then the Red Sox acquired Kyle Schwarber, who is now in Philly. And Rizzo is still in New York.
A lot goes on, man, in the MLB. I guess there's just baseball. A lot of prospects moving around. Sometimes you get rid of the wrong prospects.
Yeah. So, I mean, as of right now, the way the Red Sox have looked, it's laughable. The score right now in the top of the 4th is sitting at 1-1 in Toronto. Last night, this team held a 5-2 lead at one point. They were tied at 2-2, and then the Red Sox scored 3 runs, and then they put out, oh my God, a run scored in the bottom of the 9th, and then they had a runner at second, and George Springer comes up to bat with 2 outs. Belts a 2-run homer. Game's tied. We go into extras. They win in the 10th inning.
And I should have watched these highlights, bro.
I watched the end of that game. I watched the 9th inning, and when I saw that happen, I was like, "Screw this!" and I turned the TV off.
And they lost in extras.
Oh yeah, they lost in the 10th inning.
You pissed?
Of course, I'm upset.
Was your night ruined?
No, it didn't bother me. It's one game of baseball.
Like you said, Chet, man, the first month of baseball means
nothing. Means
Jinx.
Absolutely nothing.
Jinx. Chet, what are the Red Sox going to work on, man? I love when you hear. Just give me your Red Sox critiques. Is their bullpen okay? Is the lineup all right? Who needs to bat better?
So the thing is, I like the Red Sox batting lineup because, I mean, you're talking about Rafael Devers. I mean, Enrique Hernandez leads off. Then it goes Rafi Devers. I believe it's Xander Bogaerts after him. And then in cleanup, let me actually look at the lineup right now for tonight's game, and I can tell you.
Baby. I'm on my iPhone, so I'm going to be paused every time I go out another tab.
Okay, so leading off tonight, actually, and leading off for the past couple games, Trevor Story, then Alexander Verdugo, Xander Bogaerts, Rafi Devers, JD Martinez, Enrique Hernandez, Jackie Bradley Jr., and then Bobby Dahlback, and then catcher Kevin Plawecki. Switches between Plawecki and Christian Vazquez. So for me right now, I mean, I like what the Red Sox have in terms of offense. It was nice that, hey, even though Kyle Schwarber left, Trevor Story played his whole career with the Colorado Rockies, and monster hitter at shortstop. Red Sox needed a second baseman, so they ended up pushing him to second. So, I mean, I like what they have in terms of a batting lineup. Verdugo's looked pretty solid in the first couple of weeks, and then Bogart's good. Devers great still. And Martinez is really kind of a question mark for me right now. It's probably going to take some time for him to get up. He's had some good moments. But the problem is right now, this offense is not producing runs. They're not getting on base. They're hardly getting on base. They're just not getting enough production. Pitching, oh my God. I can't even talk about pitching with the Red Sox. The only two starters I like right now are Michael Wacha and Nate Eovaldi. Those are the only two starters right now. But the big issue that I'm seeing with the Boston Red Sox right now is home runs allowed. This team has probably let up some of the most home runs in the league so far. It's just too many pitches down the middle. Too many pitches down the middle. The bullpen, I can't trust them anymore. This team does not have a true closer. Matt Barnes was the closer all last season, and he made it to the All-Star game last year. He was so good in the first half. In the second half, I didn't even want him to go out and close the game. He was that bad. Now at this point, the whole team is set up around three different guys to step in. It's like Diekman, Barnes, and I forget who the other guy is, but it's a closer by committee. There's no true setup guy anymore. There's no true closer. The last time the Red Sox had a true closer, honestly, in my memory, is Craig Kimbrell. And Craig Kimbrell,
say that.
And this was a stat that I saw a while back, which was Craig Kimbrell has a higher save percentage than Mariano Rivera, which is crazy. That's a Hall of Fame closer right there. And Mariano Rivera, great closer at the end of the day. But the Red Sox, they had a very surprising season last year. And it's tough because as a Red Sox fan, we see this all the time. They play like crap for years. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an amazing team that just goes off. But then they either win a World Series or they're a bust. And then it just follows the same cycle. Whereas every year.
Last year, they were not supposed to make it that far.
No, they were projected to be one of the worst.
Well, I mean, I think it's just those even number of years, bro. No, last year was odd. This year's even. Ooh.
Yeah.
And rock this year.
And another interesting point that Matty Joels made to me a while ago was the Red Sox need to suck in spring training because if they do suck.
You said this to me too. I mean, maybe we were all together when this happened.
Yeah. I remember that was PC.
Okay.
PC. That was with the Friars. We were talking about it. If the Red Sox have a great spring training, they're going to suck during the regular season. But if they have a awful spring training, they're going to have a good season. This year they had a great season spring training, finishing at 11-8, and now they're 7-10 right now. And score still sits at, I just X'd out, but it's still 1-1 as the Red Sox did nothing in the top of the fourth as we head to the middle of the fourth inning.
1-1, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, pitching has been able to keep the game calm to an extent. But my issue right now is the bats aren't producing enough to keep ahead. And then the pitching, when it steps in and you go to the bullpen and go to those setup and closer guys, they blow the game. And that's what those guys' jobs to do is to preserve the win. Hence the term save.
Hence the word save, baby. We need a closer if we want to close out these games. And they didn't really have a true closer last year, huh? Not really.
Not really. I mean, Barnes was the guy going through the first half, but in the second half, they still had him close games out. But at that point, you were like, dude, I don't even want this guy to step up on the mound anymore. Like, we need somebody. And the Red Sox nearly traded back to get Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs because he played for the Cubs after that, but he got traded to the White Sox instead for a better deal.
Shame.
It's just a lot of conservative moves.
Boy.
Yeah. It's a lot of conservative moves that this team does, and sometimes they booster the wrong pieces. But this is one of the strongest infields in the league. You got Dahlback at first, Story at second, Xander Bogaerts at short, and then Rafi Devers at third. Great infield.
Elite. And they're nice at batting too. So
yeah,
pick up the consistency though.
That's what we're hoping for. So looking at the major league schedule for the Red Sox going forward, the Red Sox play one game tonight and then another game tomorrow against the Blue Jays. And then going forward for the rest of it, as I pull up the full schedule, because it doesn't give me the full schedule on ESPN for some reason, they're sitting at 7-11. So a game tomorrow at 3:07 against the Toronto Blue Jays. Then they start a 3-game series against the Baltimore Orioles. And then another 3-game series as they return home against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And then the Chicago White Sox. So we'll see what happens going forward. But this team needs to figure out.
Gotta get at least back up to 500, man.
Gotta. Because
May. That's the goal.
Yeah. Because right now, Tampa's in a weird spot, but Toronto and New York, they're soaring. And they're going to continue to soar throughout the season because they've got good pitching and good hitting. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And then to look at the rest of the league really quick,
Let's go. It's my favorite part.
Going over the rest of the league really quickly. Minnesota Twins sitting at 9-8 in a very contested division. You got the Cleveland Guardians and the Chicago White Sox, each sitting at 7-10 behind them. White Sox finally snapped their 8-game losing streak the other night. Guardians still in a 5-game skid. Then you go into the West. The Mariners have won 4 straight games. And this was a team last year that nearly snuck into the postseason. Houston Astros sitting at 8-9 this year. They're 4-6 in their last 10. And then going through second and third, you got the Seattle Mariners in first, the Los Angeles Angels in second, and then the Oakland A's in third. So that's the AL. Now moving into the National League, you see the New York Mets. No surprise. You got Jake DeGrom and Max Scherzer as your ace and a solid batting lineup. I like what I see out of them. Only team that can really contest. They are 14-6. Yeah.
Right.
And the World Series champions, Atlanta Braves, sitting at 8-10. They're 5 games out of first. Pitching's kind of dipped down a little bit for the Braves since last year. And then, of course, you lose Freddie Freeman. You do get yourself Matt Olson out of the Oakland A's. So that was a good acquisition for them to make. We'll see if it helps going forward. But right now, Mets soaring ahead in the NL East. Going to the NL Central, Milwaukee Brewers sitting at first, followed by the St. Louis Cardinals. And Brewers, they're one of the best teams in the NL. They've been one of the best teams these past few years. You got Corbin Burns. You got, what's his name? Oh, I just had it too. Well, Corbin Burns, one of the most elite pitchers in baseball. He's definitely an ace that's going to bring you forward going throughout the season. And then finally, finishing off, we look at the NL West, which once again, dude, it's going to be a tight year.
Always is.
San Francisco Giants last season really shocked the league from the talent they have. They're on a 5-game win streak as they sit at 13-5, followed by the LA Dodgers, who are always going to be in the equation considering they just got Freddie Freeman this offseason. They are 1 game out of first, sitting at 12-6, followed by the Padres, who are 2 games out at 11-7. So the NL West, once again, going to be an amazing division to watch, but we'll see if the Padres can actually make the postseason this year.
I mean, kind of sold last year pretty bad. Didn't they lose like dude, they were like first in that division for like the midpoint of the year almost, weren't they?
They weren't
like at least
first.
Second. They were at least second.
They were like third. They were like they soared ahead in the wild card for a while, but then the Cardinals went on like that 18 or 20 game win streak to make it to the postseason. And then they lost in the first round, so it didn't matter, which sucked. But the Cardinals look good still. Once again, I like what they have.
Yeah, man, that streak they went on last year was crazy. They were free money every night.
They were.
Sorry.
You literally just, oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying. You bet against them. It's like,
It's kind of like, damn, maybe I should just ride the hot team.
Yeah.
They were contagious,
Yeah, they were the hottest team in baseball last year in the second half to end the season.
Yeah.
But that does it for us. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. We're sure to get back on the pace going forward and I mean, it probably won't take us until summertime before we have another 2-week break like that again, a season-ending break.
Probably, maybe.
But
we had a little season-ending break last year too, so
yeah, it was like a month.
We're towards the end of it. We're excited for season 3. Got a lot coming for you next season.
Absolutely. We're still trying to get a hold of those Bishop Hendricken boys, but doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But might have a special episode coming up. We'll see what we can do. We're trying to innovate the show as much as we can. But once again, thank you all for tuning in to Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy here on Fans Only Sports Network. This is Chet signing off, and we will see you all next week. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your night. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats, peace.